I think so because I had been sort of thinking about this, and we had talked about sitting in discomfort earlier. Um, because sometimes if you're going climbing and you're challenging yourself, there's going to be some point where you're uncomfortable. Like the holds are not going to be as good as you want, the body position is not going to be as good as you want. But if you want to make progress, you got to work through it.
On this episode, we're going to listen to an old friend of mine who has dedicated his work and play to rock climbing. What is cool about Steve's story is that he found his song and dance right in college, and I was super excited to get him on the show to share his song and dance in life. Towards the end of the conversation, I also love how Steve tells us what growth is really like and what it really means. Let's jump in. Here we go. Hello, welcome to the Work Sucks, but I Like It podcast. Today I got an old friend from college, Steve Briggs. We used to call him Scuba Steve. And I used to do a lot of rock climbing with him. And it was really cool when he reached out to be on the show because the first thing I thought of with Steve was he had read my book years back, The Impression of a Good Life, when it was called Philosophical Engineering. I changed the title to make it sound a little cooler, I guess. But he indicated that in his review, and Steve, correct me if I'm wrong here, that you had kind of already found your song and dance. And that's what I really want to talk about today is the work that you do, why you love it. So Steve, can you introduce yourself and the work that you now do?
Yeah, my name is Steve Briggs, and I am a route setter. I work at a rock climbing gym. I've been at this gym for 8 years. I've been with the company that I work for 12 years now, as of August. And so my job, like to, I guess, boil it down really simply, is that I make the rock climbs in the gym. The climbs in the gym are made up of plastic holds that are bolted to the wall. And every week we'll take down a section of the wall. We have two different kinds of climbing. We have bouldering, which is no ropes and more padded floors. The walls aren't as tall, they're about 14 feet tall. And then we have rope climbing as well. And in my gym, the rope walls are only about, only quote unquote, 30 feet tall.
Steve, can you take us back to when you had this realization that rock climbing was your like jam? That's what you wanted to do in your life. Why that work was important to you?
Um, Honestly, it was kind of an accident. Like I had been climbing for about 10 years and sort of fell into it. I was living in Northeast Connecticut at the time, and a gym had opened up in Worcester, which is about an hour from the house I was living in, and I started climbing there. Which was like whatever, hour in the car, it's fine. You listen to some music, it's great.
That was
But through the
CRG, right?
course, was yeah, Central Rock Gym, which I still work for and love it. But through the course of climbing there for whatever 6 8 months a year, I made some friends, and one of those friends was the head coach of the youth team at the time, Malcolm Gidowski. And we were just like shooting the breeze one day, and he's like, "Hey, do you want to coach? You'll get a free gym membership out of it." And I was like, instantly sold. I had been working for my dad at that point for about 6 years. He's a general contractor, and it was just not something that I was that excited about.
So you also went to college, right? Because I met you at UConn,
Yeah,
right? You
we
stayed at
met at
the Climber
UConn.
House and stuff.
We used to go to parties together.
I know that was great. We used to play music. Steve's a guitar player, play the drums. We had some
Mhm.
some baller rock climbing parties. So Steve, like when you went to college, now that you're, what did you major in? Just out of curiosity.
Psychology.
Right on. That's sick, actually. So, do you feel that like your college degree was worth it or wasn't with the work you do? Like, I feel like today with people in work, it's like, do I need a degree? Do I not need a degree?
I mean, I think the experience was useful regardless of what the actual degree was. You get some life experience living away from home for the first time. I started climbing when I was in college, so as much as my degree was the psychology, like I was spending all my free time trying to rock climb. Like going out after class, you go to the little cliff that's like 10 minutes from campus, and then, okay, the weekend's here. Like, where can we go that's going to be more of an adventure this weekend since we have the time to invest? And while that was not like my formal education, that was still an education in some sense because it ended up applying, whatever, 6 years after I graduated.
That's super cool. So, walk us through like what you do. I know you kind of talked about it being a route setter. Like,
Hmm.
what is your kind of day to day, other than setting routes?
Um, well, I mean, we take the holds down, the old holds get cleaned, and then we put new stuff up, which is the simple answer, but the more complicated thing is you're trying to create like a bunch of puzzles for people to solve. But you have people of like varying abilities that come into the gym. You have brand new folks who's their very first time climbing, and then you have people who've been climbing for 20 years that can climb really hard and are super strong. And you want to set something that is accessible to everyone, but is also going to challenge everyone. So trying to set like the appropriate puzzle becomes the challenge, and not trying to set like the same thing over and over again. Like you're whatever, like cooking, right? You can pull the same 5 things out of your pantry sometimes and make something a little bit different. You're always dealing with something that's the same, like the resources are finite, the wall angle doesn't change. The holds are finite, although it's actually the number of holds in the gym is something, it's like 8,000 holds. I did the like back of the envelope math one day just to like figure out what it was. Or maybe it's only 8,000 on the wall. So there's probably like, I don't know, 2 grand more in storage.
So as big as the Millennium Falcon Lego you pretty much built.
That is, I don't know if you can see it, but it's right by
Oh, there it is.
there it is.
That's sick. I would move the camera. I got the Venator up here next to
Oh,
me.
nice.
Yeah, it's the little Star Wars battle. Yeah. So, Steve, how do you like maintain your creativity? You said the holds are finite. You got like this challenge of people coming in with no skill, with a lot of skill. How do you like
Mhm.
approach your task to what you do with that?
I think a lot of it is learned. Like, you learn to pay attention, be like, "Oh, I did this same thing last week. I need to, like, do something different." The guy who taught me how to root set, his name's Brent Quisenberry, great guy, would basically do that. He'd be like, "Hey, man, you set that yesterday. You gotta do something different." So you sort of learn, and it's a muscle like anything. You work on it and it gets better over time, like whatever. I assume songwriting is the same way. Like the first couple songs you write are hard, and then over time it just gets easier and easier.
One of the things that I like talking about with different things is like when people say they want to be the best at something, that's not good enough. You have to be specific. So I was equated to like raw soccer. You have to be good at
Hmm.
kicking, dribbling and passing of a soccer ball. What are the basic skills, Steve, for like a rock climber to be good at? How do you get good at rock climbing, I guess?
Man, that's such a broad question.
Pull hard.
Man, that's tough. I mean, physical fitness helps. I mean, learning to sit in discomfort helps, because at a certain point you're gonna get to some move and the hold is just gonna be bad, and you're gonna be like, I don't want to do it. It feels really scary, but if you commit to it, it just works. And you're like, oh man, that wasn't that bad. And it's sort of like a learned thing. And maybe the thing that was scary the first day you go climbing is not scary a year into climbing.
So rock climbing has a lot of fear you have to overcome, right? Those holds that you were talking about, even the
Yeah.
heights, right? If you're on a
Yeah,
rope,
the
lead
heights.
climbing, how do you like yeah, so how do you like overcome that fear? What do you do? How do you coach people?
Um, I mean, I have stepped away from coaching. But
Okay.
we'll still talk to people about it every now and, because some whatever, you're in the gym all the time. I'm a recognizable face. And people will ask about it. And I think there's no I wish there was like some like trick answer and you could just like turn a switch and turn the fear off. But most of it is like exposure therapy. But you're setting the goalpost different every time. Maybe the first time you come in, the goal isn't even to get to the top of the wall. It's just to get on the wall and just feel what it's like to be sitting in the harness. And then the next time you come in, okay, like I'm gonna move the goalpost. I did that last time. This time I'm gonna get 5 feet up.
No,
So a
I
lot
like
of it, I
that.
think, is just trying to go a little bit further than you did the last time.
No, that's cool, and I think I remember I was, like, kinda doing some research on you, like, YouTube video watching and things, and, or maybe email it to me, sorry, but you talked about kind of a flow state, right? And I think rock climbing is a great, like, flow activity, right? It's got clear challenges, and skills that you need, you have clear goals, and there's immediate feedback. You either held it or you didn't. It's like, walk us through, like, some of the goals you set for yourselves as a climber.
I guess it's been a while since I had any like a con. I the goal that I remember telling, I had a sit down conversation with my boss. When I
Okay.
first met him, when I was still a part time employee, and this was like 12 years ago. And this is not going to mean a lot to some people, but I sat down. We had dinner or something, and I was like, I want to climb V10.
That's very
Um,
hard, by the way, for you listeners that don't know rock climbing.
I think the best analogy I can come up with is that climbing V10 is like running a 5 minute mile.
It's pretty good.
Like a lot of people could do it, but it's a feat.
No, 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 yeah, so you had the goal of climbing V10, so now what did you do? So, like, you got this goal, how did you work towards that?
I set my work schedule up in a certain way so that I could boulder a lot because that is a V10 is a bouldering grade. I would ask a lot of questions. My boss had been like a coach for USA climbing for like a the what is it called? Whatever. The US international team, like for the kids. Like he'd been a coach for them. So I'd ask him questions. My other boss, Brent, would ask him questions. Then I worked with a couple climbing coaches as well. Um and then whatever it took me, what was that? I mean, but it was like 5 years of training, and then finally I did it. I did this boulder in uh New London, Connecticut called Episode of the Whale.
That's awesome. Is it on YouTube?
It's
Did you
on YouTube. It's like
Did you record it?
Steve Briggs Episode of the Whale, and you can watch
That's
the video,
fantastic.
and I scream real loud at the end.
When you
'Cause I
said
was
it.
I was pretty hyped.
I'm
That was a
sure you
big
were.
goal for me.
That's a big goal. Yeah.
Brian Conway was out with me that day.
Oh,
He
sick.
was
Yeah,
just
yeah, yeah,
like
yeah.
was a friend of ours, and he was just like, "Yeah, man, I just wanna see you try this thing." And I remember it was like the Saturday after Thanksgiving and thinking like, "Oh, man, I ate too much at Thanksgiving. I'm an athlete. I'm not gonna be able to perform. It's not gonna happen." And then whatever, second attempt of the day, it just went. And I
That's
was like,
awesome.
"All right, cool." It
Well,
wasn't even out that long for the day, but I was like, I don't need to keep going today. I'm gonna go home."
so the interesting about climbing, right? You said for 5 years, right? You spent this time trying to climb
Mhm.
this V10 boulder problem. How long did it take you roughly to climb this problem?
Like the
Like,
actual ascent,
yeah, like a minute, 2 minutes, like, or a few
I
minutes?
think it's probably less than a minute because I think I had to trim the video. I put the video on YouTube, and then YouTube changed YouTube Shorts, and you couldn't do like full screen or put on your TV anymore. So I had to re-upload the video to make it longer than a minute.
That's so
So
funny.
actual climbing time, actual time on the rock is less than a minute. It could be like 30 seconds.
So that's so insane, right? You look at 5 years of training and you had less than a minute of achieving that, like, crossing the finish line. Like, how did
Yeah.
you motivate yourself, like, through those 5 years?
Man, I don't. It was just I don't know. The short answer. But it was just for some reason it was just like this is the goal. This is what I want to do. I have access to whatever. I work at the gym, so if I'm going to train climbing at the end of the day, it's easy to finish and be like, "All right, well, this is what I'm going to do next. I'm already here."
That's a topic that I'm really interested, especially on this podcast. When people do work, whether it be rock climbing or other goals they set, there's definitely those moments where it sucks, right? And we don't wanna do it.
Yeah.
So it's like, how to like, what do you I mean, you weren't just rock climbing, right? There had to be cross training, you did other
Yep.
activities, like, what
I
other
worked with
things
a
were
strength
you
coach as
doing?
well.
Perfect. Can you walk us through, like, those other things you were doing along the way, just other than climbing, to keep you on track, if you will?
So, I mean, I worked with so my climbing coach at that point was this Shane Messer, who was my boss, and then his wife Morgan Usany was my strength coach. So I had I was like very regimented in my schedule, and it was like Tuesday, Thursday would be climate would be bouldering workouts after I finished work for the day, and then Monday and Wednesday I would run and then lift, and then Friday I would just run so that I could be rested for going out climbing on Saturday or Sunday, depending on like whatever people would be available on a certain day or the weather would be better on a certain day. And I just tried to do what I could to set myself up for success.
That's awesome, man. What did you do for, like, meals and stuff? Like, picture climbers as being very hippie, right? I'm a climber too, so it's like, I guess, like, what were you eating for meals?
I mean, I still do this because I feel. The unfortunate thing is that I would really like to be eating Doritos and drinking soda, but I feel better when I don't eat that. Uh, and I eat a lot of like it's super boring, but chicken, broccoli, and rice.
Hey, get it done.
But like eat good, feel good.
I love it.
Uh,
So I always remember you as Scuba Steve. Where did that nickname come from again? Why? What
um,
was
that came from my freshman year at UConn. There was a guy on my floor that took it upon himself to nickname everyone on our floor. And I became Scuba Steve because there was it's an Adam Sandler movie called Big Daddy, in which he has like an adopted I've never actually seen the movie,
that's
but the kid
hilarious.
in the movie has this toy called Scuba Steve. And somehow this kid on my floor, his name was Tom, was like, "You're Scuba Steve now." I was like, "All right."
You've lived up to it ever since. I
I
love it.
yeah.
So you checked off a goal of V10. So I guess
Mhm.
like now what is your next kind of like goal? Why do you keep wanting to show up to your work? Why do you keep wanting to show up and climb?
I think the community is really awesome. Like, it has always been super supportive of me no matter how strong I am or how good I am, and that was, like, a very early, like, formative memory of rock climbing was going climbing and just, like, really struggling to make it up the easiest climb on the cliff, and this guy, Luke, was belaying me and just like, "Hey, man, you got this. You can do this." And then I did it, and I fell my way up to the top. He was like, "Hey, man, great job. Will you blame me?" And I blamed him on something else, and it was like 2 grades harder, and he just like did the thing. But the fact that we could be of differing abilities and still hang out, I was like, "Man, this is really cool."
Do you see yourself now as like giving back to the community? Like that experience you had, you're trying to generate that for others?
Always. All absolutely always. Like that is I like climbing always feels like it has been this like great gift to me, and I want to help bring that to other people, and now I get to do that as a route setter. Like I remember what it was like um having to drive an hour to the gym like once a week, and I would be at work at that it was like Thursdays was my day to drive to CRG Worcester. And I would just get up in the morning and be like, "Man, I get to go to the gym tonight. I get to see my friends. It's gonna be awesome. I'm gonna have a great time. I am super excited about this." And I really want that for everyone.
That's cool. That's super cool. Now, Steve, where are you at again? What climbing gym are you?
I am at Central Rock Gym in Warwick, Rhode Island.
Man, the Central Rock gyms are really going all over the place now, huh?
Yeah, there are I don't know if they're at 30 yet, but they'll be at 30 pretty soon.
Holy smokes. Do you ever go to the other like places and help them route set or
Yeah, I'm going to Randolph a little bit right now to help them out. And I was at Randolph is in Massachusetts. It's whatever, half an hour south of Boston. There was a competition at the West Hartford gym about 2 weeks ago, and I requested to go out and help them set that competition. So that was pretty cool. Yeah, I get to go. We opened a gym in Florida. I got to go to Florida to set at the Tampa gym for a week before that opened. That was pretty cool. That was never
that's
a
so
thing that I
cool.
thought I would get to do as a route setter.
That's awesome. So walk us through because I really love rock climbing. I'm not as good as Steve, by the way, for those listening. Um, like walk us through, Steve, like that flow state when you're really in, I'll let you describe it. Like when you're climbing, you're on the wall and you just feel super awesome rock climbing.
Yeah, I mean, that's how you know it's a good day, right? Is it's really easy to get into the flow state. Um, and I felt like that was one of another thing that I had always appreciated about rock climbing was you are forced to concentrate on the things that are directly in front of you. And if you lose concentration, you're off the wall. Like you're done. Um, there's I don't remember what it's called. I took some yoga classes for a while, and the yoga teacher that I knew used to talk about there was a form of meditation through intense concentration. Maybe that just is meditation, I don't know, but it has always felt really meditative to me, and, that's just, like, part of it is having to the warm up and the easy climbs and trying to focus on your breathing as you get going and, like, "Okay, I need to speed up, I need to slow down, like, how do I feel today?"
On that. So, like, I guess, like, with focus is a big thing today, right? Everybody's sort of online, we all try to make our social media presence. It's very distracting. I almost feel like rock climbing is a good intervention, right? For like people to, I don't know, get back to being in themselves, like just being more aware, of who they are. Like, I guess if we're to try to pitch climbing to someone starting out, like, what do you tell them? Like, what do you say to, hey, come check out our gym?
Probably that I know it seems scary, but I think it's a lot of fun. It's honestly one of the best things that I ever did with my life, and, like, it's a workout without feeling like you're working out, which I think is really cool, and, like, the community which we talked about already, because you get to meet all these great people. Like, it's tough and it's hard, and you're walking into a situation that seems really scary, but I promise everybody it's really a lot nicer than maybe it seems.
That's cool. That's cool. Um, what kind of parallels, right? I guess you can get all, metaphorical here with the climbing and stuff. How do you see a lot of parallels, obviously, with rock climbing and the way you live your life?
I think so, because I had been sort of thinking about this, and we had talked about sitting in discomfort earlier. Because sometimes if you're going climbing and you're challenging yourself, there's gonna be some point where you're uncomfortable. Like, the holds are not gonna be as good as you want, the body position is not gonna be as good as you want, but if you wanna make progress, you gotta work through it. Um, and I guess I had sort of thought about that in real life. I, recently bought a condo, and sort of the place needs a little bit of love, but that's not, like, it takes time to get all the things done. You have to, like, whatever, paint the walls and then do the floor and then call the electrician and then call the plumber, and this takes time. So you have to, like, sit in that and be like, "Well, this thing's gonna happen eventually, but it's okay that it's not all happening right now." And sometimes you have other stress, and it's the same sort of thing. Like, things don't necessarily need an immediate resolution. You're going to have all sorts of things happen in your life, friendships and romantic relationships, and there's going to be some point where you can't just, like, solve it instantly. And I think there's a lot of, like, maybe it's being an American, maybe it's just human nature, but a lot of this is like not wanting to sit in that discomfort and wanting to have the immediate solution, but that's just not realistic, and that's not what life is.
No, that's cool. Like I said, that's such a big theme, and a lot of my thoughts today is people not being able to sit with themselves. I'm actually working on a third book. It's called "In a Rush to Go Nowhere: Finding Shavasana." The fact that people cannot sit with themselves, it's just crazy today. you know,
I mean, it's hard, and I don't think I always succeed with it. Like, whenever
Me too. I mean, that's why I had to write a book for myself to try and do it myself because it is hard. It is hard. So tell us about another project you're working on, whether it be at the gym or, outside climbing. Like, I know you don't really have, I guess, a goal of V10 or V11 or whatever may be next. I guess, what's another, like, what are you envisioning as like your kind of next few years, if you will, your next chapter of this?
I guess I have been mostly a boulderer for a really long time, and bouldering is great, and I still really enjoy it because it makes me feel like a superhero. And I think that's one of the other benefits of climbing is that it's this great opportunity for anybody, regardless of level, to, like, be like, "Look at what my body can do," and I always think that's really cool. But I've been made some new friends in the last couple years, and they all think bouldering is dumb.
Why?
I don't know. One of them even has a shirt that says bouldering is dumb.
Really? Bowling's
Yeah,
not
there's
dumb. Bowling's
there's a
hard.
well, there's a rope company that makes this shirt that says bouldering is dumb, and I always think it's kind of funny.
I
But
gotta
they
throw
mostly
that in
rope climb,
fire.
so I've been getting more into rope climbing, and it's like sort of a different form of discomfort, and I've been trying to get more adjusted to that.
That's cool. You've been in a lot of sport climbing, or is it trad, or what's,
No, it's sport climbing. There's a place in Killingly, which is probably about an hour away from here and was an hour away from Eastern Connecticut where we were living.
with climbing, right? there's this scale, the boulder scale, you're more familiar with than
Mhm.
I am, right? You have V1 through what is it, V16 now or whatever? Like,
Maybe 70? I don't know.
oh,
I don't know.
V13? That's
At a
nuts.
certain point, it's just, like, all speculation to me, like, just seems hard. I've looked at some hard rock climbs that just, like, well, this patch of rock is, like, slightly better than this patch of rock, so that's the only reason the boulder works. I'm like, "Ah, it just seems insane."
Yeah, no. So I guess I just wanna make it clear to, like, the listeners, it's like, sometimes people see growth as, like, this kind of, like, linear path. Like, if I do V1, I'm gonna do V2. If I do V2, I'm gonna do V3. And, like, Steve, walk us through, like, that kind of journey of getting to the next level, like, your growth. I mean, it took you 5 years to climb
Mhm.
V10. Where were you climbing that first year?
Like, my first year of rock climbing before I started working at the gym?
Before you started doing your V10, like, project, your V10 initiative. Like, what grade were you climbing?
I mean, I had climbed I think I did a couple 8s and 1 9.
No, that's
I was
crazy.
just
So
like
5 years it took to go from V8 to V10, if you will, right?
5 years. Yeah, it was about 5 years because it was I think that initial conversation was in, like, 2012 or 2013, and then I finally did it in 2019, yeah. So 6 years.
I mean, that's such a I don't know, I think that's such a big thing to highlight with that because, again, I just see a lot of people not a lot, but I guess I see this trend of people see growth, again, as just this, if I get to this next step, I get to the next step, V1, V2, V3, it's like this ladder you climb, but
Mhm.
growth isn't always like that, right? In work that you do,
Yeah.
it's kind of like plateaus, you get to this point where you're climbing V8 and you kinda poke a V9 here, and then all of a sudden one day
Yeah.
you'd be doing V10, like
I mean,
but
growth, um, honestly, I'm gonna compare it to grief. Grief is not linear. Something bad happens, somebody close to you passes away, and you are gonna have good days where it doesn't seem that bad, and then you are gonna have days where you just absolutely cannot get out of bed. It is like the overall trend is gonna be upward, and you're gonna get better. You're gonna feel better, but like the data points on the graph are just gonna be it's back down. It's all over the place. And growth, I think, is the same way. Like you're gonna have good days and you're gonna have bad days. There was I worked at a community center gym in my hometown for a year or two, and there was this personal trainer there, and he said that this was like 20 years ago. And I still think about this and I still try and tell people this, but he looked at me one day and he said that only mediocre people are at their best all the time.
what do you mean by that? Can you elaborate? Like, what is your take on that? That's really good.
Uh, oh man. Um, if you are a mediocre person, then I think you are just or if you're only trying like a medium amount, then you're basically always going to succeed. But if you were trying hard, you were going to have days where you just fail. Like that boulder that I did was like 1 day and 30 seconds, but I had been out there. I'd been going out to that boulder. I started trying it like a year plus, 2 years before I actually did it. And then we're so like every other day was just failure. Like I did stuff. Yeah, I was failing. It's a game of failure.
So I guess, like, with that failure, again, like, 5 years and then 30 seconds, like, what do you tell yourself when you're, like, trying to motivate yourself? Like, that's a lot of relative failure, right? 5 years worth of time and then 30 seconds of, like, highlight. I mean, isn't that, like, dismal, but
I mean, it's like baseball. I mean, like a good batter has a batting average of what, like 300 or something. And I had a friend that just compared bouldering to baseball one day, and I was like, "Yeah, you're right. Like it's a game of failure. If you're trying hard, you're gonna fail more often than you succeed. But the 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 high of actually succeeding, like that feeling of when you get on top of something for the first time, is just like absolutely exhilarating. And at this point, I feel like I get a lot of joy out of just doing new stuff, even if it's not that hard. I'm like, man, I saw the top of a new boulder today. That was so fun. And it's just really exciting.
like, indoor climbing or outdoor? I guess it's do you even compare the 2?
Not necessarily. I They both have an appeal. Like the indoor climbing is great for ease of access. And like the density of problems in such a small space. Like if I'm trying to get the workout in, I'm gonna go to the gym. And it gets the job done. It's fun. Your friends are there. It's well lit. The bathrooms are pretty convenient. Um, but there really is nothing like climbing outside on like a New England fall day. It's just like an adventure in the woods with your friends, and you just get like the peace of nature is just like this wonderful thing. Like I was out last weekend and I did this route. I mean, it was like 5'8". Like it wasn't that hard, but it was just like I'm- I felt like it wasn't that hard, but I felt like I was in that flow state. You just kind of do a couple moves, clip the rope, deep breath, and just keep going. And I was like, man, this is awesome. I'm really enjoying this experience right now.
That's another great appeal that I love about climbing is it takes you outdoors. I haven't climbed outside in a long time. I think the
Hmm.
last time we climbed, Steve, was in Rhode Island at Lincoln Woods.
Yeah, that's about 20 minutes away right now.
Oh,
Or for
that's
me
sick,
anyway.
man. That's super cool, and that's awesome. No, I love being outside and being on the real rock, and I mean, like you said, indoor climbing has its appeal too, the bathrooms and just, the indoor if it's raining and
Yeah,
stuff, but no, that's
but there's
awesome.
something about being outside. Like maybe even I think even if you're not a climber, I think there's something about being outside that I personally find relaxing. And if you are climbing, then it just feels everything feels like this sort of like grand adventure you're going on with your friends. Like hopefully nobody got hurt. But it still feels like this adventure. Like, yeah, we survived. That's awesome. It's always cool.
No, awesome, Steve. So I want to wrap up, and I know I kind of
Mhm.
touched on it, throughout, with something kind of sucking, but I really want to hone in on this question again. When work sucks, right? When your work sucks, whatever aspect it may be, maybe it's route setting, maybe it's working on a climb, maybe it's your job in general. How do you make it not suck? Like, how do you make it? What are some techniques that you use to make work not suck?
Deep breaths. I remember that it's not gonna last forever. Whatever, there's always something, right? There's always gonna be some like I love my job. My job is great. There's always gonna be some aspect that I don't enjoy or I don't want to do, but I'm always gonna get back to the part that I like, which is the setting and the problem solving of, oh, I wanted them to do this crazy move and they didn't do it. How do I fix this problem? So I know that I'm going to get back to the part that I really enjoy. Like there's always going to be some moment of I just got to put my head down and get this thing done, but I will get to the part that I like.
That's gold. We got to end on that. That was pretty sweet.
We're nowhere, America. I can feel the heartbeat I'm singing.
Wow, what a fun conversation I had with Steve. Climbing to the top. We all want to work our way there. Steve Briggs literally sets the routes for people to climb and reach their goals. What I enjoyed most was listening to his story about goal setting and what it really takes sometimes to achieve a goal. It took him 5 years to work and train every day to climb a route that lasted 30 seconds. It's a game of failure, as he indicates, and despite him wanting to eat Doritos and drink soda, he indicated that life truly is a team sport, a team effort. He had coaches and his friends cheering and supporting him all the way in his strict regimen of climbing, running, weightlifting, and eating. And that is one thing I really resonate with climbing as well, is this sense of community. Steve indicates the importance of how rock climbers embrace anyone who shows up and tries. So if you haven't tried rock climbing, head to your local gym and check it out. If you're in the New England area and want to hit up CRG in Rhode Island, go see Steve and let him know how you heard about his work on this podcast. And there'll be a link in the description to see his video. It's a wicked set of that V10 boulder problem. As always, thank you for the continued support. Remember that success is not about good luck, but good skills. In this episode, the skill that stood out to me most was Steve's discipline in training for that V10, or as he equates it, to running a 5-minute mile. That growth and success is not linear. It takes time and with persistent effort. It can span over many years.